Hello, everyone. Thank you for signing on to today's Amtrak Vacations presentation on our most popular getaways in the US for 2021. For travel, yes, in this year in 2021. I'm so excited to have you folks here with me on the presentation today. Let's dive in. My name is Jared Kettinger. I am your host today. Now, what will we cover in today's presentation? Well, right to begin, some of our most popular getaway trips. I'll explain what the getaways are. In particular, most popular destinations to travel to by train for 2021 for you to consider for your vacation. Yes, in 2021. We'll be talking about routing your vacation by way of train from your local hometown and how Amtrak is maintaining a safe environment when traveling on board the train. Now, folks, I want to encourage any and all of you to ask questions by typing said questions into the questions box that you will find on the side of the GoToWebinar platform. I will answer your questions at the end of the presentation today. Now, I do want to let you know that for any inquiries regarding pricing, scheduling, or putting together a trip, or for any existing reservations that you have customer service questions on, please, for all of those inquiries, give us a call at 1-800-268-7252. You can find the number on the lower area of the slide. So there are two major brands under our parent company for you folks to be aware of. Of course, Amtrak Vacations, that's our flagship brand. That is, of course, the host of the presentation today. Now, to give you an idea, folks, of what a true Amtrak Vacations trip or holiday entails, that, of course, includes the wonderful, leisurely, scenic rail travel on board Amtrak, and, of course, can also include the overnight portion of travel in a cabin on board the train, bundled together with hotels, sightseeing, and attractions, all together as a confirmed holiday at wonderful destinations all throughout the United States. Now, Rail Bookers is our sister brand here, which is essentially the same idea, again, of scenic, leisurely rail travel, this time internationally throughout the world, throughout Europe, Australia, India, and beyond. Again, combining the rail travel with the holidays, the hotels, the sightseeing, the attractions, all packaged and bundled together. Pretty straightforward. Now, where can you travel to by train? And second question, where can you travel from? Well, everywhere on a map such as this that you see a star, that's a destination that Amtrak Vacations has a package that it goes to, where we incorporate, as I just mentioned, the hotels, the sightseeing, and the attractions all prepackaged together with the rail travel experience. And you can see where the rail is traveling by way of the red lines around the map. Everywhere you see a red line, that's a route that Amtrak travels on. Everywhere you see a star, that's a destination. And where can you travel from? Well, everywhere you're seeing the little white dot in the map, that's a station that Amtrak Vacations travels through, such as Minot, North Dakota, Ardmore, Oklahoma. We have Altoona, PA. We have Reno, Nevada. There's Tucson, Arizona. So wherever you're seeing a little white dot, that is a train station that you can go through, I should say, and depart from and even return to. So you can start your trip from a local station, return to your local station, and go round trip, as we say, on board the train. And all of this is very exciting because, as we like to say here at Amtrak Vacations, we can book from today to up to 2023. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that if you are booking last minute, and folks, don't feel bad, many people are booking for travel for spring, the spring that we're currently in, for the next few days, few weeks, few months, booking into the summer, into the early fall, and later on for 2020, we can book from today to up to 2 to 3 years in advance, up to 2023. So whether you're looking to travel this year or travel within the next couple of years, we can handle all of the above. And here are some great reasons why travelers love Amtrak Vacations. Number one, of course, as I just highlighted, we can have you booked to go, whether it be for this year, traveling this year, whether it be booking for the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, or up to 2 to 3 years in advance. And we have a maximum flexibility. That means you are not set to travel on very specific dates, like a cruise line or an escorted tour group company, where you have to book into whatever the set date of the trip is. As we like to say here, we can have you book to any station for any date at any time, as long as the train itself goes there. So again, it's simply put, as long as the train is going and as long as there's availability, we can send you on your date of your choice. And when you're working with an Amtrak Vacations consultant, you are truly working with a rail expert, someone who has traveled on board the trains, who knows the train systems, who knows how to piece them together, who can answer your questions for you. And through Amtrak Vacations and Rail Bookers, we have the largest rail vacation selection of any company out there, whether it be multi-city or multi-country trips. Here in the United States, combining a trip, say, going from San Francisco to Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington, or through Rail Bookers multi-country, whether it be going from the UK to France to Spain. We can book some more luxury level trips, or even add on to future trips, such as adding on pre and post packages to cruise trips you might have. And then, as we like to say here, no rail trip is too complicated for us. And it's important to note that all of our rail vacations are customizable. And we can actually have you coming from your round trip from your local hometown. And I forgot to mention this before. We actually have over 500 Amtrak stations all throughout the USA and all across our map that you can depart from. And again, we can create the trips to start and end from your most local, most convenient station. And we can customize the itineraries, such as adding on destinations to packages. For example, I just gave you a hypothetical of a trip that did San Francisco, Portland, Oregon, and Seattle. Well, imagine that you're talking with an Amtrak Vacations consultant on the phone, and you want to do that journey, but you want to add on departure from, say, Los Angeles, and take the very scenic ride on the Coast Starlight up to San Francisco, and then on to Portland, and then on to Seattle. And so the itinerary you're looking at doesn't include Los Angeles. Well, we can easily put that on there. Or even you want to add extra nights. So maybe the itinerary does 2 nights in San Francisco, 2 nights in Portland, and 2 nights in Seattle, but you want to do 3 nights in each of those destinations. Simple as that. You could even ask to add additional sightseeing opportunities, such as a trip out to Yosemite National Park on a full day guided tour by way of San Francisco, or even upgrading your rail ticket to have a cabin on board the train. By the way, folks, I will be going over in a few minutes what the cabins are like and some of the better details of what it's like to travel on board Amtrak. And I'm so excited to announce that it is back, our Pick Your Perk sale event. Yes, we're in the midst of a sale event. What does that mean for Pick Your Perk? When you are booking a rail package with Amtrak Vacations during this sale event, and you upgrade to have sleeper accommodations on board the train, well, once you've upgraded to that, depending on where else along the trip you may upgrade, we can help save off the total cost of the package. For example, say that you're doing a rail vacation with us and you upgrade not just to a cabin on the train, but you upgrade to a 4-star hotel from a 3-star hotel on your vacation stay, or you extend the stay at the destination, or even add on additional sightseeing activities. Well, depending on the amount of upgrade and the length of your stay, we could have you save $300 to $400 to $500 off per couple off the total cost of the package. All of which, of course, you can inquire with your Amtrak Vacations consultants over the phone. And I will actually be going over some great upgrading opportunities on the presentation today. Now, before we dive in to start talking about the certain destinations that are trending, let me explain to you folks what an actual Amtrak Vacations getaway is, as we're going to be talking about our most popular getaways. A getaway is a package put together by Amtrak Vacations that includes 2 or 3 or maybe 4 nights at a destination, inclusive of sightseeing and activities bundled together, where we then add the train to start from a convenience station or most local train station for you, including packages to the U.S. national parks. Now, I've gotten a lot of excitement regarding the national parks today, especially on my earlier presentations. So as I go to talk about our first and most popular national park trips, let me ask everyone, and feel free to respond by typing your questions or typing your answer to my question into the questions box. Who here is ready to get out and do some physical and social distancing in the big open spaces of the U.S. national parks, including Glacier National Park? Can I get a yes? Can I get a woohoo? Can I get an amen? All right, I'm already seeing yeses pop right into the questions box right here, including some yeses and big capital letters. I'm getting some exclamation points, absolutelys, I ams. Well, I'm really excited to have you folks on as we talk about the national parks, as they are in particular Amtrak Vacations special destinations that we go to, especially Glacier National Park on our Glacier National Park getaway. Glacier Park is our top selling destination. And there's many reasons why, from the hundreds and hundreds of mountains, thousands of glaciers, millions of lakes, plenty of wildlife all throughout the park that makes it such an incredible destination up in Big Sky, Montana to visit. And it's in particular very easy to get to Glacier by way of the train, because from the door of the Glacier Park train station to the door of the Glacier National Park Lodge, which is where you would stay, it's only 209 steps up a walk path door to door. And our Glacier Park getaway is pretty inclusive and pretty easy and relaxing to travel on, because it includes 3 nights at the Glacier Park Lodge at the eastern end of the park, and it includes sightseeing throughout the park as well, including the 2 Medicine Valley boat cruise, which is a very scenic, very serene morning cruise out onto one of Glacier's many beautiful lakes. And then we also have the Big Sky Circle Tour, which is done on the historic open-top bright red buses. You can see one of those buses vehicles in the picture right front and center, that travel all throughout the park on a full day, all-encompassing tour up through the mountains, going along the Going to the Sun Road. And so already included within the package, all buttoned up, is plenty of sightseeing to explore throughout Glacier, as well as plenty of time to enjoy the park, both relaxing and exploring time on your own. And as I mentioned, you will in fact stay on the eastern end of the park at the Glacier Park Lodge. Now, getting there is pretty darn simple. In fact, there are three major Amtrak hub stations that go there: Seattle and Portland, coming from west going to east, and Chicago, the complete major hub of Amtrak, going from east to west. So you will stay for the 3 nights at the Glacier Park Lodge. And as I mentioned, especially to highlight during the Pick Your Perk event, that when you upgrade or include extra options, activities, and inclusions on your packages, you can save off the total cost of the trip. So I mentioned I would start peppering those suggestions in along the presentation, one of which a feature perk option would be including breakfast vouchers within the cost of the package, something to ask your Amtrak Vacations expert about. Glacier itself is a big, wide open space of a park, but where you stay is all pretty secluded, pretty buttoned up of an area, and so most things are wrapped around the lodge itself, including the dining. And so if we can include a breakfast package included with the larger vacation package, so your daily breakfast is included within the cost, already paid for, already prepackaged together, so your vouchers are ready to go for your breakfast ahead of your boat cruise, ahead of your full day excursion. And here you can see in the photo why you would want to sit back and enjoy a nice hearty breakfast overlooking the mountainscape and have it all taken care of for you and all paid for ahead of time. Because again, when you add additional sightseeing and attractions and inclusions to the package during the Pick Your Perk event, you can then save off the total cost of the package. So this, folks, is the Glacier National Park Getaway. One thing to note, folks, whenever you're looking at a map, whether it be on Amtrak Vacations.com, whether it be in an Amtrak Vacations brochure, whenever you see a map with a bubble that has a number in it, just so you folks know, that indicates the amount of overnights at a destination. So you can see 3 nights included in Glacier. Now, you're not seeing anything indicating where this package is departing from, because, folks, we could have you coming out of any station throughout the USA. Does anybody remember, and feel free to respond by typing your guess, or if you know the answer, into the questions box on the side of the GoToWebinar panel. Anybody remember how many different stations I said that Amtrak travels through? I just mentioned it a few minutes ago. See if you're paying attention. David Tucker, right off the bat, got it for the first one. That's right, David. 500 or 500 plus stations all throughout the USA that you can depart from on the Amtrak system. Very exciting. Next up, we have our Grand Tetons and Yellowstone rail journey. This is a very exciting package because it visits not one but 2 major national parks, all on one itinerary. In this case, the train is departing from the major hub of Chicago, but of course we can always add a departure from your most local station. In this itinerary, we'll travel through Salt Lake City, which is the jumping off point to go up and to explore the Tetons and explore Yellowstone, as that is the closest Amtrak station to connect to those destinations. Now, by way of Salt Lake City, we would include a rental car for you to do a self-drive trip at your leisure up into Jackson Hole, where we would have a night's stay included. After the night stay in Jackson Hole and your drive up to the area, that following morning you would have an early morning half-day tour throughout the Grand Teton National Park. And that tour departs roughly around 6:30 in the morning. Might sound a little bit early, especially for some of you folks who are saying 6:30 in the morning, this is supposed to be a vacation. What's that all about? Well, we have you leave early in the morning on the Grand Teton tour because it is a quote unquote wildlife safari tour. And so the idea is to have you on a guided tour throughout the Tetons early in the morning so that you have the best and most opportunity to see the wildlife before the park gets too crowded and too busy full of tourists for the day. Also, given that it is a half-day tour and ends roughly around lunchtime, it will then give you plenty of time to grab your car again back in Jackson Hole and drive on up to Yellowstone National Park, where we'll have included 2 night stay in Yellowstone, America's first established national park. Here you can see one of the incredible geothermal wonders of the many hot springs and multicolored geothermal pools of the park itself. And during the park stay, because you'll have a rental car, you'll have 2 nights there with plenty of time to explore the park at your leisure on your own terms. And as we continue moving forward, I want to keep mentioning ways that you could take advantage of the Pick Your Perk sale event. This includes inquiring with over the phone with your Amtrak Vacations consultant about upgrading for availability to the Lake Yellowstone Hotel in the center of the park. Folks, this property is one of my favorite properties that we operate for any of our national park lodging availability in the US. That the hotel itself is definitely one of the higher end of options for the national park lodging. When you typically think of a national park lodge, the terms rustic or quaint come to mind because of, they're in the national parks. They aren't exactly, the 5-star resort type service that one might think or expect. Whereas with the Lake Yellowstone Hotel, this truly is a real 4-star property. Right from the get-go, when you walk in, you are greeted with the nodes and wafting of coffee and cookies coming right from the bistro on the front or the lower level. There's a nice, beautiful big hearth. As you step in, you clearly feel the beauty and the opulence of the property. It is overlooking Lake Yellowstone, which is expansive. It's huge. It almost looks like an ocean in and of itself. And so we have had quite a lot of luck recently confirming space at the Lake Yellowstone Hotel. And as I mentioned, during the Pick Your Perk event, when you upgrade to a cabin on board the train and then upgrade to different levels of hotel service or additional nights or what have you, you can save off the total cost of the package. Inquiring about availability at the Lake Yellowstone Hotel is definitely going to be a benefit to you. And as I mentioned on the previous itinerary for Glacier, whenever you see a map with a bubble with a number in it, that indicates the amount of overnights at a destination. Now, wherever you see a map with a red arrow with a number in it, that indicates the amount of overnights on board the train. In this case, 1 overnight on board the California Zephyr, running from Chicago on the Zephyr through the Colorado Rocky Mountains, and arguably on Amtrak's most scenic rail route, heading out to Salt Lake City to jump off and do the national parks on this trip. So that, folks, is the Grand Tetons and Yellowstone rail journey. Next up, we have the New Orleans Ultimate Getaway. New Orleans, the city that care forgot, the Crescent City. Folks, it's one of my favorite cities to venture to. And this particular itinerary, the Ultimate Getaway, has been one of the best-selling getaways across the Amtrak Vacations brand for pretty much as long as I've been with the company, and that's getting on to be a decade now. And that's because New Orleans has so many different facets to it that various people can have so many different various reasons to want to go to New Orleans. Whether it's the city's deep, rich history of the city itself, of the region, of the part of the country that it's in, whether it be the purely fun aspect and the party aspect of heading out into the French Quarter, particularly heading along Bourbon Street, where you can get yourself really into some fun down there. Whether it be the cuisine, the Cajun and Creole food of the region, or even just exploring through some of the museums and attractions. Well, being all of the above, the New Orleans Ultimate Getaway surely allows you to jump into whatever types of options for exploration around the city that you would like, including giving you options to choose from one of multiple types of sightseeing, including one of many walking tours around the city, guided walking tours throughout New Orleans, or more buttoned up tours of different parts of the city, guided tours of parts of the city, a swamp and bayou tour, or even going on the Steamboat Natchez paddle wheel cruises, as you can see here. That is one option during the time of the day in which the jazz bands are playing. So you will actually have a jazz band led cruise, and you could even inquire about upgrading to have a lunch on board the cruise, or even upgrading to a dinner option along the way as well. And then to stay in the city, just as we do in the majority of our big U.S. cities that we venture to, whether it be Salt Lake City, whether it be New Orleans, whether it be all around the United States, we have a menu of options for you to pick from at 3, 4, and 5-star levels, including our featured hotel upgrade option of the presentation, the Hotel Monteleone, which is right in the midst of the heart of the French Quarter. It definitely is a full upgrade to a full 4-star option stay there. And one of the big draws, in addition to it being a little definitely more luxurious, definitely very beautiful, and we have, of course, will give you more access to the famed carousel bar, as you can see featured right front and center. That is actually an old-timey carousel that still rotates, built right into the bar in the next to the lobby of the property itself. So the Hotel Monteleone, very popular and definitely worth inquiring about, especially during the Pick Your Perk event. So that, folks, is the New Orleans Ultimate Getaway. One thing worth noting is that in addition to you allowing to choose from your sightseeing opportunities, whether it be the Swamp and Bayou Tour or the Jazz Cruise or what have you, we also include the New Orleans 2-day pass, which essentially think of a little purple credit card that allows access to various sightseeing, tours, attractions, museums, admissions all around the city, including the San Francisco Plantation House and a tour out there. Mardi Gras World, which is in a giant open, essentially warehouse with the gigantic floats featured in the Mardi Gras parades. Fun fact, the Mardi Gras cruise, which the crews are the teams of folks that build and organize the floats and the parades for Mardi Gras, they start planning their next Mardi Gras a week after the previous Mardi Gras happens. It takes nearly an entire year for them to plan for the next year's celebration in advance. The New Orleans Pass would give you access to that tour, or even the National World War II Museum, which I visited myself. It is incredible the year there. The artifacts they have that have been preserved from years and years and years in battle during the war they're really well kept. It's really well organized. They have two branches of the museum, one for the European theater and one from the Asian Pacific theater that you can venture through. It is quite the incredible journey. Next up, we have the River Walk to the French Quarter, which essentially think of the New Orleans ultimate getaway, almost if you plopped a getaway to San Antonio ahead of going to New Orleans. So we include a 3-night stay in San Antonio, and along with that 3-night stay is a several-day hop-on, hop-off tour of the city. A hop-on, hop-off tour, by the way, is those guided tours where, as its name would suggest, you're allowed to, quote-unquote, hop on and hop off at the major attractions around San Antonio, such as the Buckhorn Saloon and Texas Ranger Museum, such as the Tower of the Americas, such as the Riverwalk, as you can see featured right here, where there's also a cruise included, and all of that is buttoned up and included within the hop-on, hop-off pass during your stay in San Antonio. Following that, you will board the Sunset Limited route, traveling from the Lone Star State of Texas and into Louisiana, through the bayous and into New Orleans, where we include the multiple choice of attractions to explore in New Orleans, as well as a brunch at the famed and historic Court of Two Sisters restaurant. The Court of Two Sisters is a beautiful restaurant. I've eaten there myself for both the brunch and a dinner there. You walk out and then there's this beautiful open courtyard with this expansive canopy of plants, flowers, twinkling lights. There's a nice big gurgling fountain. There is a jazz band playing in the corner, and the brunch is a standard, a brunch with the breakfast options, lunch options, Creole, Cajun food of your choice, and of course you can always opt into a nice mimosa, glass of champagne, and the desserts there are quite phenomenal as well. So the brunch itself is particularly special, and it's one of the great inclusions on the Riverwalk to the French Quarter getaway itinerary. And then last but certainly not least for getaways for the presentation today, we have the San Francisco and Napa Valley getaway. So this includes a stay in San Francisco and time to explore all throughout the city. As I've mentioned, we offer a menu of hotel options for you to select for your stay in the major U.S. cities like Salt Lake City, as attached to the Tetons and Yellowstone trip, such as in New Orleans, such as here in San Francisco. And again, you get to choose from 3, 4, and 5-star levels of property in terms of luxury, but also you get to choose where about the city that you want to stay, such as a stay down on Fisherman's Wharf of San Francisco. We have options there. We have also options to stay further up in the city, down up near the shopping and theater district, near Chinatown, wherever you would like to be. And this itinerary also includes a stay out in Napa Valley, California. So we include the transportation for after the stay in San Francisco out to Napa Valley. And included within the stay in Napa Valley is a day experience on the Napa Valley wine train, which will travel through the vineyards and wineries in this area. A gourmet multi-course lunch is included along the way, along with some wine tasting. And so think about it. You can add the train on from your local station, local hometown, head out to the West Coast or up along the coast of California, head into San Francisco, out to Napa Valley, and even enjoy a nice multi-course lunch with wine included on the wine train through the vineyards as well. So that, folks, is the San Francisco and Napa Valley Getaway. So why book or inquire now? Well, number one, you're not the only ones. Especially if you want to go on to, say, the national parks, or even go on a train trip with a sleeper compartment. By the way, folks, description of that is coming up soon. You are not the only one inquiring. And so space is getting eaten up, especially for 2021 travel. Whether you want to go last minute in the summer, early fall, even later in the year. Well, good news, folks. As long as you book a new package through June 30, you will have the maximum flexibility offer to change or cancel without incurring any change or cancellation fees. So good news for you on that. And packing for the train is simple and easy. You're allowed 2 carry-ons of up to 50 pounds each per person and 2 check bags of up to 50 pounds each per person. By the way, there's no cost to that. And luggage can be checked as close in as 45 minutes to an hour ahead of time. In fact, that's why we normally suggest getting to the station. It's not like the airports and the airlines where you have to get there, say, an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours if you happen to be going international. You can get to the station 45 minutes to an hour ahead of time and still easily board the train. And what is it like on board? What is it like to travel throughout the stations? Well, before we dive in to this more deeply, I do want to briefly go over the safety precautions being taken, because Amtrak and Amtrak Vacations do take this all very seriously. Number one, the stations and the trains are being cleaned daily, up and down, multiple times daily. Facial coverings, masks, are still required to be worn by everyone, Amtrak staff members and Amtrak passengers. And so when you are traveling throughout the stations and on board the trains, the masks are still being worn. Also, physical and social distancing is being enforced. That means there are of course, less passengers on board the train so that Amtrak can accommodate the more physical and social distancing. All of the above is being taken into consideration. So when I show this next photo, which is a very nice photo, to cover what the coach accommodations look like, with the big plush seats, plenty of leg room, a tray table that will fold down, outlets to charge devices from, a nice big picture window to enjoy all the sights out of. Just know that obviously this photo is a little outdated. We, of course, would now be enforcing more physical and social distancing, and especially mask wearing in the open area of the train. Now, if you are upgrading to, say, sleeper cabins on board Amtrak, there are some inherent benefits, such as priority boarding onto the train ahead of everyone else. So if you are booked into a sleeper cabin, you will have priority boarding ahead of the general admission. And you will also have a dedicated car attendant dedicated to your sleeping car, which they have multiple jobs to do, such as knocking on your door well ahead of when the train is about to travel by some scenic mountainscape, scenic, vista or what have you that can be viewed from the train. They, of course, will keep everything clean and ship shape as the train is traveling. And provide the toiletries, bottled water, and coffee along the way as well. And as I mentioned, everyone is required to wear a facial covering, wear a mask, However, if you are booked into a cabin, of course, your cabin will have a privacy door. That means once your door is shut to your cabin, you can remove your facial covering, you can remove your mask at that point. And to, of course, go over and give you an idea of what the cabins look like, here you can see the roomette, which is its own private cabin with two big plush seats that face each other, a nice big picture window, your window on the world to enjoy all the scenery that you can enjoy as the train is whizzing by. And you can see by the diagram, everything folds down to bunk style sleeping. That is the general design of the cabins. Now, during the day, it's two big plush seats, and at night, it folds down to bunk style sleeping. However, you can have your sleeping car attendant, your train car attendant, fold down the bedding during the day should you want to take a nap, or like this young lady, want to spread out, relax a bit, read a book, enjoy the scenery. That, of course, is a possibility. And to just give you a bigger shot of the diagram, here you can see each of the cabins fits max two people, two adults, one adult, one child. If you're traveling with children, that is the general idea of each of the cabins. Now, the roomette's restroom access is private in the train car. The shower access is private in the train car. That means a short distance down the hall. Now, there's a couple of things to note with that. Number one, as I mentioned earlier, due to the physical and social distancing, there are less people, Amtrak is having less people travel at any given time. That means, of course, that there's less passengers and less people utilizing those restrooms and showers. Those dedicated train car attendants are constantly cleaning those areas out. But if you did want your own private bathroom and shower accommodation in the room itself, the next step up would be the sleeper bedroom, which is the bigger of the cabins on board the train, that has a long couch, big captain's chair, comfortable, big plush, comfortable area seating, a nice big picture window to enjoy all of the sights out of, and everything still folds down to bunk style sleeping. But as I mentioned, it has its own private bathroom and shower in the room itself. You can actually see the door to the restroom and shower right there in the photo, and how everything looks like as it's folded down in the evening time. And again, you can see a bigger design by way of the diagram here. Still bunk style sleeping, but in-room restroom and in the room shower. And for any of those who might be curious as to whether there is ADA or accessible areas on the train or sleeping accommodations on the train, yes, there is on the lower level of the train. The ADA accessible cabins run the width of the train and can accommodate those traveling with, say, a walker or a wheelchair necessity. Everything still does fold down to bunk style sleeping. So we assume if there is people travel, a duo traveling together, one of them may be the ADA accessible traveler, the other one may be a companion that can go in the upper area of the bunk. And as always, the dining options can continue to be delivered to the private sleeper. So as the world opens up, as things start to renormalize, we are looking forward to having the dining car return to its more regular service on board the train. And as you are traveling with a sleeper compartment, all the meals are factored into the cost of the sleeper. But should you want to continue to have your dining right in your own private cabin, of course, that is always going as usual. And so we have a couple of upcoming webinars that you folks are all invited to. Please feel free to join us on Tuesday, the 25th of May for top 5 destinations to visit by rail. And please feel free to join us on Tuesday the 1st for Grand Canyon and Glacier National Park by rail as well. So, question, and feel free to type in your answers into the questions box on the side of the GoToWebinar panel. But what destinations are you considering for your next vacation? Is it Glacier? Is it Yellowstone or the Tetons? Is it New Orleans? Is it Napa Valley? Where are you thinking about going? And for any and all questions, now would be the time to type them into the questions box if you haven't had an opportunity yet. Now will be the time where I can answer your questions. Now, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, for specific costs or specific routing or specific quotes, that of course you'll want to give us a call. You can see the phone number right front center. I cannot price or give scheduling over a webinar. I don't have the facility to be able to do that. But if you do have any questions like that, feel free to give us a call and ask. I see people typing in that they want to go to Yellowstone. Glacier, if it's available this year, Glacier is highly bought up for the year, but we still have some availability. Feel free to inquire. So a question is, what it would be an initial deposit to hold a vacation? So a deposit would be based off of the total cost of the package. So depending on the package, the cost, and if you include our optional trip protection, that would be what the deposit would be based around. Now, as for payment options, whether monthly payments or what have you, if the travel is 60 plus days in advance, we allow you to, of course, put the deposit as I just said. Once we are within 60 days or within of that to travel, then the final payment will be charged to the card on file. For any additional specific payment plans, please give us a call and chat with a rail expert about that. Someone's mentioning they'd like to go from the Bay Area to Oregon and Washington and potentially tie in a wine trip. We can definitely come up with something like that. We have great options for that, all of the above. Okay, folks, so that looks like the last question that came in specifically regarding these options. Again, for any specific pricing, scheduling requests like that, give us a call. Otherwise, I want to say thank you to all the folks who signed on to the presentation today. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, folks.